Choose Trump. And you want the US to be chaotic. Choose Biden. And you want the US to be rotten. What to do? Although there is a saying that it's better to have a fool than a madman because a madman will slash people with a knife while a fool won't. In the US presidential election in 2024, the first half was a competition between a madman and a person with dementia. And the second half upgraded to a competition between a madman and an empty-headed idiot. However, to make the US politics more dramatic in the next 4 years, I personally tend to accept Trump, this racist madman, to be elected to entertain the public and mess with the US allies. So let's watch the drama and wait and see. Personally, I hope Trump will be elected between Trump and Biden. I wholeheartedly hope Trump will be elected as the US president. China as competition is the main theme in the next 30 years. I don't hope for a war because Trump was really a president who didn't start a war during his tenure. And China is a rare peace-loving country in the world. So I also hope that when China competes with the US, it can achieve victory without fighting. However, the possibility of achieving victory without fighting is not high. So we have to hope that the US will decline and self-destruct, although we jokingly call Biden Sleepy Joe. In terms of China as competition, Biden has done quite well and can get 80 points. Biden, who has been a senator for more than 30 years and has long served on the Foreign Affairs Committee, is experienced and shrewd in foreign affairs. He firmly binds Europe by taking advantage of the Ukraine war and has also done a good job in uniting the juniors to isolate and blockade China at the same time. Biden, as a Democrat and a white, doesn't have an identity buff and is also helpful in bridging the divided US. In contrast, if Trump takes office, the domestic conflicts in the US will surely intensify, and the US will take another step further on the path of division. But if Harris replaces Biden, the situation will be different. Obama's 8 years played an important role in the division of the US. Whether it's Obama or Harris, they are more left than Biden. Harris, with the triple buffs of being an immigrant descendant, a person of color, and a woman, is the next Obama, not the next Biden. No matter whether Harris or Trump takes office, they will both increase the ideological conflicts in the US and make the US society more divided. In this regard, Harris and Trump can be said to be evenly matched and equally outstanding. So, from the perspective of the US domestic situation, I think these two basically have no difference. Whoever of these two takes office is better than Biden in terms of policies towards China. Harris will probably continue Biden's China policies, saying nice things on the surface, but stabbing in the back. It won't be like Trump, who attacks head-on, but will be more insidious and ruthless, cutting the flesh little by little. The stronger point of Biden-Harris compared to Trump is that they can unite allies to deal with China. The US sanctions on China's semiconductors couldn't be achieved without the cooperation of allies. If Trump takes office, it is estimated that he will still use the tariff weapon and significantly increase the tariffs on US imports from China. The tariff war has already been fought once in 2018, and China is also mentally prepared. The tariff war kills 1,000 enemies and self-inflicts 800 losses. China suffers a lot, and the US is not small either for other foreign policies. Harris will not make any adjustments to Biden's current strategies. If Trump takes office, it is likely that the US will significantly reduce its support for Ukraine. And it is possible that Ukraine can't hold on and will make peace with Russia. The relationship between Russia and the US is expected to improve significantly, and Putin's pressure will also be greatly reduced. But Putin will not side with the US either. After all, Trump can only serve another 4 years, and the hostility towards Russia from both the Democrats and the Republicans is still deep-rooted. Mearsheimer's suggestion of uniting Russia to contain China doesn't get mainstream support in the US. At the same time, Trump's pro-Russia policies will make European countries lose trust in the US. Similar things have already happened once from 2016 to 2020. If Trump takes office and Ukraine compromises, China-Europe relations are expected to improve greatly. China-South Korea friendship depends on Japan. And China-Japan friendship depends on South Korea. China-Europe friendship depends on Trump. Right. In the complex international political landscape, the Palestine-Israel conflict has always been a focus issue with far-reaching influence. In this regard, we can clearly see that compared with the Democrats, the Republicans under Trump's leadership show a more firm stance in supporting Israel. The series of radical policies implemented by the Israeli Netanyahu government have been strongly endorsed by the U.S. to a certain extent. And this unreserved firm support position of the U.S. has undoubtedly aroused strong dissatisfaction and resentment in Muslim countries and many third-world countries, greatly damaging the U.S. image in the eyes of these countries. In fact, this situation has become so serious that in some countries, Americans have even been labeled as terrorists. This is not unfounded accusation, but the inevitable result caused by a series of bad behaviors of the U.S. in international affairs for a long time. In order to maintain its own interests, the U.S. does not hesitate to lie to its own people and fabricate various lies to cover up its true intentions and behaviors from the perspective of foreign policy. I firmly believe that Trump's taking office may bring some special changes. Take China, for example. One of the biggest potential negative impacts after Trump takes office may be closely related to Musk. Musk occupies a pivotal position in the current development pattern of the U.S. It is no exaggeration to say that he is one of the symbols of the U.S.'s national fortune at present. If there is no outstanding contribution and innovative drive of Musk in the fields of the automotive industry and the aerospace industry, in a dozen years or so, these two key industries in the U.S. are very likely to fall into recession or even a stagnant dilemma. After Trump takes office, Musk is likely to obtain more support from the government, which will undoubtedly enhance his influence and development momentum in related fields. However, we also cannot ignore the potential problems and variables therein. First of all, Trump's presidential term is usually only 4 years. Although the time is limited, his policies and actions during his tenure may have a profound impact. The closer Musk is to Trump, the more likely he will face retaliation from the Democrats in the future. You know, some of Musk's current behaviors, such as being suspected of buying votes, have thoroughly angered the Democrats. In addition, looking back at Trump's first term, we can find that most of his staff had differences and even turned against him at different stages, which fully shows the uniqueness and complexity of Trump's governing style. Both Musk and Trump are people with extremely strong personalities and a great sense of self-awareness ego. When Trump takes office, even if there may seem to be a seemingly harmonious honeymoon period in the initial stage, as time goes by, it is entirely possible for conflicts to arise between the two due to factors such as personality and interests, and finally led to a breakup overall. Considering various factors comprehensively, I still hope that Trump can take office. Although after Trump takes office, he may bring stormy impacts and changes to the international situation in the short term. We should also see that during his first term, we have already accumulated a lot of strategies and experience in dealing with him. Moreover, if Trump is re-elected in 2024, the Trumpism he advocates will not disappear easily with his departure. It is worth noting that Trump has already selected his successor, the post-80s Vance. This political novice Trump who emerged suddenly. His influence on U.S. politics, economy, and even international status will surely continue to ferment and manifest in the next few decades, bringing many uncertainties and new changes to the political and economic landscape of the U.S. and even the world. We need to closely follow these developments in order to better cope with various challenges and opportunities that may arise. Finally, if Trump takes office, there will definitely be more unknown things exposed, so that we ordinary people can also understand a little. And there will be more writing materials according to the polling data on October 22nd. The relatively neutral RCP Real Clear polling, based on the gambling data, believes that Trump's chances of winning have reached 60% at the same time. In terms of the average data of the polls, RCP believes that in the 7 swing states, Trump is all leading, among which he leads by more than 1 percentage point in Georgia, Arizona, and Michigan. The pro-democratic 538 also finally believes that Trump's chances of winning exceed 50%. 538 believes that in the 7 swing states, Trump is leading in North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. In Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, it's a tie. The Democratic mouthpiece, The Washington Post, argues that in the 7 swing states, Harris is still leading in 4 states and Trump is only leading in 3. According to the polling average of The Washington Post, Harris can still defeat Trump with 76 to 62. Even if Nevada is lost, she can still win with 70 to 68. However, The Washington Post may also feel that its own tendency bias is relatively obvious. It added an analysis again. If the error of the opinion poll is the same as that in the 2020 general election, Trump will win all 7 swing states and achieve a great victory. So it's still The Washington Post that is the most sophisticated. If Harris wins, The Washington Post wins. If Trump wins, The Washington Post still wins. Another Democratic mouthpiece, The New York Times, has a similar polling average. In the 7 swing states, Harris is leading in 4 and Trump is leading in 3. According to this result, Harris will win with 76 to 62. Similar to The Washington Post, The New York Times also played some small tricks, marking that if the opinion poll underestimates Trump by 1%, just this 1%, Trump can win all 7 swing states. So these media seem to have reported, but actually said nothing. To sum it up, it's just one sentence. Unpredictable. Predicting the U.S. general election is very difficult. There are more than 300 million people in the U.S., but it is only the tens of thousands of votes in a few swing states that determine the result of the U.S. general election. In the 2020 U.S. presidential election, Biden won with 303 to 35 electoral votes. It seemed to have a clear advantage, but in fact, Biden only won by more than 10,000 votes in Arizona and Georgia. He won by 20,000 votes in Wisconsin and 30,000 votes in Nevada. If more than 50% of these 70,000 votes go to Trump and Trump wins these 4 states, he will win with 75 to 63. It is the votes of these tens of thousands of voters that determine the result of the U.S. president. It is very difficult for any opinion poll to predict the direction of tens of thousands of votes. At the same time, the gap of tens of thousands of votes also gives the 2 parties room to show their abilities. This general election may be even more intense than that in 2020. It is possible that 10,000 to 20,000 votes will determine the ownership of the presidency. So let's watch the drama and wait and see. Hope the king of understanding Trump will be elected.